All right, guys, so if you're in the get her back scenario, chances are your wife, she's really angry right now. Every time you show up and you interact with her, it's either a hot war or a cold war. You know, she's either yelling at you and screaming at you, or she is just totally shut down and distanced and cold and retreated, and she doesn't want anything to do with you. So a lot of guys have asked us over the years, how do I interact with this? What do I do about my wife's anger? So before we jump into kind of some of the do's, I want to talk to you about what is anger? How do we understand what anger is? And this is going to help you make sense of what your wife is going through. So when we think about the emotion of anger, we think about anger as being a secondary emotion, meaning that it is a responsive emotion to something deeper or something primary underneath it that's driving it. In this case, it's going to be one of three things. It's going to be either hurt, sadness, or fear. So either she feels hurt, she feels sad, or she feels afraid. And those are the primary emotions, but all of that energy is getting directed and channeled through anger, and that's what she's coming at you with.
And to clarify, I would say if she's angry, congratulations, she still wants to be a part of this marriage. We have seen where there's anger, there's still love. And when the wife doesn't want to engage in the marriage anymore because there's no emotion to it, she's not angry at all, that's a little more difficult hike for us to do. But in this case, where there's anger, she's engaging because what she's trying to do is, I've tried everything I can to awaken you to desire me in a certain way. Now I'm going to this other bag of tricks, and I'm going to start using anger or negative emotions to try to provoke you and awaken you. And so recognize why this is happening is you really did not recognize the first signs and see the first signs that she gave you to awaken you to this opportunity to love her in ways that she wants you to love her. And so when there's anger, there's actually love. There's actually a marriage that's still alive. I know that's hard to hear, but it's true. So like you're talking about before, it's a secondary emotion to a primary. So what do we do with this? Do we act on the anger or do we try to act on the primary? This is where we go back to empathy again. What is the real reason why my wife's angry? I'm not going to talk about anger with her because we found out the more you talk about anger with someone, the more angry they get. This is why if you go to Anger Management 101, is they don't talk about the anger, they talk about the other emotions. So we encourage you to talk about what got her angry. What emotions like you're talking about? Is it the fear? Start engaging in that fear. Is the fact is that she feels not priority? Start engaging in making her a priority. If the fact is that she feels that she can't trust you, become trustworthy and speak into that. It's about speaking into not the anger, because that's a red herring in this case. We want to speak into the true emotion that caused this to happen. And so this is going to take a little bit more of you being like a Sherlock Holmes and trying to figure out like, what is that? This is why we go back to is start journaling, start writing, increasing your emotional intelligence through the workbooks that we have, and start learning about what got me here. Because when you write it out, you won't act it out. And in marriage, it's a lot of acting out for not getting there. So we need to recognize what is that primary emotions or fears like we're talking about, and how do I speak into them? Don't be afraid. Go straight to them. Say them. I can see you're angry because I didn't come home in time. I wasn't appropriate with you in front of the family. I didn't show up to family events I should have. I'm not giving you the words of affirmation affirming you as a woman, and you're getting that elsewhere. You just name it. If you can't name it, you can't claim it. We're going to name to claim it when it comes to anger. I know some of the men are probably thinking, what if she says, you're the one that's making angry. Your presence is making me angry. You are my main trigger, not something you've done, but you, your presence, your physical presence. And this is what I like to say is change your presence. It's hard to be angry with someone when someone comes in with a kind posture, with a face that shows, I want to engage and know you and love you, and continue to do that. Part of the solution to an angry wife is a consistent husband. And so you go back and you start going back to all these videos that you're listening to. And while you're taking these notes on these videos, be consistent with it. We have too many men that say, well, it didn't work. And I say, how many times have you tried it? Once, twice. Until you try 1,000 times, you're right, it might not work. But there's going to be a tipping point here. And the game is consistency. And so if you're consistently becoming that man that she wants you to be, that we're talking about, the anger is going to go away.